If there was one thing the world was asking for, it was for one more podcast about CrossFit. Well, here we are anyways. This is the Silverback Media Podcast, where we share the stories of the everyday CrossFitter, so that more people are encouraged and empowered to try it themselves. Here's your host and everyday CrossFitter, Marco Mejia.
People say all the time, I would die for my children. Okay, but would you live for them? Actually live, make better choices, take better care of yourself, physically and mentally. Your kids don't need you to die for them. They need you to live. That quote summarizes the conversation that you're about to listen to. Today, I have the great honor to have the voice of the podcast, Nick Kennedy, on the show. Nick voiced the intro and the outro for this podcast, so that voice you just heard before you heard me start babbling on, that's Nick, and we get to talk to him today on the show about his background, his upbringing, how some early childhood experiences helped shape his current view on fitness and health, and his outlook on how he wants to approach that going forward with his family and with his stepdaughter, which kind of goes back to that quote that I was just saying, right? Nick is also the executive chef at Wrigley Mansion, which if you're in the Phoenix area, highly recommend checking out. It's an absolutely phenomenal restaurant. Nick is the executive chef over there, so we talk about, as you can imagine, the balance of being a chef and being in the kitchen and needing to taste food along the way, with also making sure that he was prioritizing his health, and how those things can be a little contrary to each other within that industry, and how he's managed to find that balance for himself so that way he can continue to prioritize his health. Along the way, we talk about how he found CrossFit, what he thought about CrossFit. Is a very interesting journey that he took towards making his way into a CrossFit gym. Nick is also a level 2 certified coach. He is not currently coaching classes, but he is certified and has gone through that level of certification. And you can tell through his passion about talking about it and talking about the methodology that what he learned in those 2 certifications, the level 1 and the level 2, still resonates with him today. So that's enough from me. Remember to follow the show here if you're listening on Apple, follow the show on Spotify. If you want to watch Nick, if you want to see the voice, see the face behind the voice, go to YouTube, subscribe there, follow on Instagram, send it to a friend, do all the stuff that makes the robots happy, all that good stuff, right? And that's enough from me. Let's go talk to Mr. Nick Kennedy. All right, let's do this thing.
Cool.
All right. Nick Kennedy, the official voice of the podcast.
Just the intro, the outro, but sure.
I mean, that's kind of a big deal. You're the first voice that people hear.
Well, I love doing that kind of work, so thanks for the opportunity to help.
Dude,
get me out there.
I mean, you offered, right? So I was. No, but it was absolutely awesome. Once you offered, I'm like, absolutely 100%. Let's do it, and it came out absolutely great. So
I'm glad you like it.
Listening, and you hear that voice,
I'm available.
It's a sweet. Also true. Okay, so I mean, we were just talking about that. So you did say, you've done some voiceover work.
Yeah,
in the past.
mostly audiobooks. There's 2 on Audible.
Okay. What are they?
One is called Blood and Dirt.
Okay.
And the other is The Recordings.
The Recordings. Okay,
They're both horror.
Oh, interesting. All right.
In different veins, but mostly involving, like a murderer hunting down suspects and stuff. So a lot of suspense, thriller type stuff.
Give us like one line of like a suspense voice.
Suspenseful voice?
Yeah.
What's the line?
I know.
If I could do my best, Vincent Price. On a dark and spooky night. That was very bad Vincent Price, but...
I mean, granted, after a workout like we just did,
yeah,
so I'm sure it's
I
hard
barely have my lungs back under me, but...
Yeah. You sound like you're breathing heavy. I have a raspy voice. I've been screaming for 2 hours straight, so this is perfect timing to record. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the voiceover stuff, obviously, that's absolutely awesome. If anybody wants to hear the voice, go check out those books.
Blood and Dirt and the Recordings on Audible.
Blood and Dirt and the Recordings.
I need the residuals, please.
You're like, it'll just help. It'll help you be able to do it more. Okay, so let's talk about Nick growing up athletically, right? So let's go back. You grew up in
not
Illinois.
Athletic. Yeah, I'm from the western suburbs of Chicago. The town was called West Chicago. It's about an hour outside of the city.
Okay, cool.
Kind of like almost right before the corn starts, because the whole rest of Illinois is cornfields,
it's farms
basically.
in Chicago.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, that's Illinois. Okay.
But not athletic or mindfully healthy in any way, shape, or form. I was the kid in gym, walking the mile for the whole time. Couldn't do a pull-up. Couldn't touch my toes. I had zero interest in it. I was and still am a huge nerd. So addicted to card games, video games, board games, all of that stuff. So I didn't really start thinking about fitness or getting into fitness until almost my 30s. I want to say it
really?
was like 6 years ago now.
Okay. And what was the impetus for that? Like, when did that start? When did you start thinking about it? Like, was there a moment where you're like, ooh, I might need to start doing something here?
I think it was kind of like the looming idea of turning 30, because it was about 29 when I started to really think about it.
Okay.
I'm a chef full time, so I've been in kitchens since I was like 14, on and off, and then I started taking it really seriously around 21.
The chef could.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I went to culinary school, the whole 9 yards. Started working as a dishwasher and was working my way up the ranks.
Heck yeah.
So after like a decade of cooking, the restaurant industry is like leads to a pretty unhealthy lifestyle, right? Like you probably go 12 hours straight without eating, like skipping breakfast, skipping lunch, and then you eat like 4,000 calories worth of pizza for dinner at 1 o'clock in the morning before you go to bed.
Is that like whatever's left over in the kitchen?
Usually,
pretty
like,
much, yeah.
Or fast food on the way home.
Yeah.
Like, especially like I was going to school at night, so I was working in the mornings, and then I flipped and I was going to school in the mornings, working at night, so just like a kind of nonstop schedule.
Gotcha.
And I was a smoker at the time.
Oh, dang.
Dealing with the stress, I was a really heavy drinker at the same time, so I would have like a 6-pack of beer every day.
Oh my goodness.
And then wake up the next morning, have a couple of Red Bulls, and then smoke a pack of cigarettes. All of that was like adding up really quickly.
Yeah. And this is throughout your 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I started smoking and drinking when I was like 15 years old.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I carried it into my late 20s. But there's a history of heart disease and cancer and diabetes and stuff like in various parts of my family. My dad passed away when I was 14, 16,
goodness.
or it was 2004. So
sorry to hear that.
16.
Yeah, okay.
But it was of his third heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And I had seen him like try to get healthy a bit in my youth. I think he quit smoking after his first heart attack. Tried to start eating better, and it was like 5-6 years. And then he had a second, and he tried to make some more life changes. He started running, and he would try to like take me jogging with him and stuff. So like I saw him try, but he never really, I think, gave it enough or didn't start early enough maybe, and it just caught up with him.
Yeah.
So I had that kind of in the back of my mind through a lot of my youth, but I didn't take it super seriously because when you're in your 20s, you know,
You think you're invincible.
Yeah, you're cocky.
Like,
you're going to own the world eventually. So it was like 28, 29. I was a sous chef opening a new restaurant in Scottsdale. This is after I've moved out here now.
So when did you move out here?
2014.
2014. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be like 11 years this August, I think.
Wow. All right, nice.
I worked for a few different restaurants. Executive chef at one, sous chef at another. I met my now wife at a place called Sumamaya, where we worked together for a couple of years.
Okay.
And it was after dating for 6 months or a year that I decided to quit smoking.
Okay. Was that your decision? Was she
that was my
pushing you to do
decision.
it?
No,
Okay.
she was not pushing for it at all. She didn't really seem to mind one way or the other.
Okay.
But she had a daughter from her first marriage who was about 4 or 5 years old at the time that we met.
Okay.
And after spending, about a year or so together, taking the relationship very seriously and wanting it to move forward, I was like, shit, I grew up seeing my parents smoking all the time. My mom was a smoker through all my life. She smoked, in the house. I was like, I really don't want to do that to somebody else,
Yeah.
to another kid, especially somebody else's kid, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm her stepfather, so that was when I want to spend more time with you. I'm going to quit smoking. I got something I want to stick around for, essentially.
Yeah.
And then fast forward another 6 months to a year, I'm opening a new restaurant, and it's super stressful, working 14, 16 hours a day, trying to get set up, and just feeling like really, really shitty every day. I would wake up and my back would hurt, my knees would hurt, and I'm like, I'm not even 30 years old yet. Why do I feel like I'm over 40 already?
Were you overweight, or was it just
Yeah.
like, okay, I wasn't, I'm kind of trying to paint a picture, yeah.
So I was about 275.
Oh, wow.
I grew out this giant beard just to hide all of the kind of fluff on my face. I'm like 6 feet tall, right? So like I kind of adapt to it pretty well, but I was carrying a lot more body weight for sure.
Okay.
And it just started to show up, like being tired, being out of breath, walking up the stairs from the parking garage, all that kind of stuff. So that was when I decided I have got to lose weight. And that was my only goal at first. I wasn't even thinking about like fitness or health in the long term. Like I think I kind of knew those things were related, but I didn't fully understand it all. I was just like, I know I'm overweight and that's causing some of these problems, so I got to lose weight.
Yeah.
And I did it probably the worst way possible.
Oh, no.
Which was just crash diet, like 1,700 calories or less
Okay.
for 6 months.
Which somebody may be hearing that and think 1,700 calories, that's crash dieting, right? They might question that, but compared to what you were doing before, right? If you're, not eating for a whole shift at a restaurant, then smashing 4,000 calories.
Plus,
going from that to 1,700 a day,
Yeah.
that's a crash
It's
diet.
a
It's
huge
about
difference.
the discrepancy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big difference.
And for context, I weigh about 220 now, and I eat about 3,000 calories a day, and
Okay.
I maintain that weight at
Yeah.
that amount. So, yeah, 1,700 was definitely
Big difference.
too few. I was starving constantly, and I was right around the time of COVID lockdown is when that started. So I had just started going to the gym. I had maybe 2 or 3 months of just like basic bodybuilder split, like push pull legs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then a
Were
day
you just
of,
doing
of
your
cardio.
own thing? Were you coming up with it
Yeah,
by
I was
yourself?
guessing. I
Like,
was
yeah.
just like picking up stuff from YouTube here and there.
Yeah, the YouTube degrees. I like it.
I
That's
had
where
like
started.
heard of CrossFit at the time, but I thought it was stupid. Like I didn't know anything about it. I just saw people doing crazy thrusters, chest to bar pull-ups, and I was like, that's fucking dumb. Why would I
Was it
hurt
seeing
myself?
people at the gym you were going to, or was it like seeing it online? I mean, obviously, if you're
A
on
little
YouTube
of both.
searching
Yeah, I
fitness,
would see some people. The gyms that I was going to weren't CrossFit gyms. They were like general public, commercial gyms. But a lot of them have like the functional fitness space, and I would see people like doing muscle ups and thrusters and stuff.
like,
I'm
what
like,
the hell
that's
is
fucking crazy. And also thinking like, I'm never going to be in shape enough to do that, so I'm just going to do this for now.
Yeah.
And it would be like a 1 hour cardio session on Tuesday, and then push pull legs basically was my split.
How did those first couple when you started getting, because obviously, like you said, that was kind of leading into the lockdown around COVID too.
Yeah.
But how did those first couple months go adjusting to that? Like, was it like a?
It was a struggle for sure. I mean, I think I didn't realize how much I was sabotaging myself, like how hard I was making it by being so low on calories and just really pushing to like, I got to get this done this week. I need to lose 20 pounds this week. Like that mentality of
The short term.
hyper aggression, with no focus on the long term like sustainability of it. Made it the first month or two really challenging. But I want to say by like the third month, I had seen some progress, some weight had come off, and I was starting to feel stronger. I was able to start lifting more.
Okay.
I was like, okay, so this is still clearly the answer, like it's working for me.
Yeah.
And then another month or two in, the gym's closed.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna do? Being a chef, we kept working.
You're essential at that
changed
point, right?
our hour. Like, we weren't open to the public, but we were doing pickup food or to-go food only. So we furloughed, I guess, all of the hourly employees, and everybody on salary just kept working.
Okay.
So we started working even more hours and even more days. Meanwhile, everybody else is at home. But I was like, I've made all this progress. I'm not going to lose it now. I'm going to double down and keep reinvesting in myself. So I started waking up earlier, so like 4 o'clock in the morning, and working out in the parking lot outside my house.
Oh wow. Okay.
I had managed to get like a weight vest, like a 20-pound vest, and I was like, that was literally all I could get my hands on. All of the dumbbells sold out everywhere immediately for like 2 months, and there was no steel coming in either. So it's like nobody was making new weights or anything. So I missed my chance to get weights for home. I filled up gallon jugs of water and put them in bags, like Trader Joe bags.
Oh, heck yeah.
And I just used those. It was like a 16-pound weight and a 16-pound weight each hand, and put a 20-pound vest on, and I would like squat with them. I would do presses with like everything that I could.
Everything, yeah.
And then I got a jump rope because I hated running, so I didn't want to run around the block a bunch. But I would do like 10 minutes of jump rope every day.
Nice.
And that made probably the biggest difference. That's when like all of the weight started to really fall off.
What do you think was the difference between what you were doing before to that? That made the big, or do you? Well, probably.
I think it was more the regulated intensity.
Okay.
Like, because I would do shorter workouts, but more intense workouts.
Gotcha.
And I think that had a larger impact. I was still maintaining the exact same diet, so I was still really low calories, but maybe because I shortened the workouts, it seemed like it was easier for me to really push myself.
Yeah.
But I was also doing like 800 milligrams of caffeine a day at that time, so I could have just been tricking myself into it a little bit too. I think I kept that up for at least 6 months, and then I started adding more food back in and started trying to increase the workout intensity and stuff. At some point, the gyms reopened, and I started working out in the gym again.
Okay.
Maybe fast forward another 6 months or a year, and I
Was
felt
that
like
going back towards like the split you were doing before?
yeah,
Still, like,
yeah.
bodybuilder-ish split?
Same kind of stuff.
Okay.
But then I started to notice that I was not really progressing anymore.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't.
It plateaued a little bit.
Yeah, it felt like I couldn't lift any heavier. I couldn't last any longer, and I still felt unfit. I was still kind of like, I'd lost a lot of fat, but I didn't have like muscle definition. And I was like, why don't I look different? Like I look smaller, but I don't feel stronger or look stronger.
That makes sense.
I think for a lot of that, I still had like the frame of my mind of like, it's just about what this looks like.
Yeah.
I didn't care about like what my body could do other than like I wanted to look stronger.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would have to be stronger to look stronger. And so I was constant like Instagram, YouTube, everything, just looking for advice, looking for tips, tricks. Started like counting macros, planning out my meals, and trying to up my protein, and following all this random advice, but not applying it with any real direction.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm still seeing people doing CrossFit popping up like in the gym or on my feed all the time. And I'm like, why do they look so fucking fit all the time? Like, is that really the secret? Is it just doing this crazy shit?
This crazy stuff. So, and this is what, probably a good year.
Yeah, at least a year and a half of consistent exercise.
Yeah, consistent exercise. You're starting to get some different information about nutrition and stuff in there too, right? Like you're learning some more, probably, Instagram, YouTube type of stuff.
I think by that point I had managed to find some like actually useful people out there, because there are quite a few people that do share useful information.
Yeah.
I was watching James Smith's reels a bunch. Lane Norton kept popping up, and he's been very useful. So I started to really take his advice really seriously.
Yeah.
And started, I think, fueling myself more appropriately.
Yeah.
And then started cutting out some of the bullshit, like cutting down on caffeine and all that stuff.
So across this whole time, because and we'll get to the CrossFit piece, right? And a big part of it is the accountability of having a group of people that you're working out with. But this is a year and a half where you're essentially, you're holding yourself accountable. I mean, you've got your wife and your stepdaughter, right? But you're essentially doing it yourself, right? Like you're working out by yourself, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
You're learning things by yourself. You're implementing new things from a nutrition perspective by yourself. Because that's a very challenging thing to do. Like how were you able to do that over the course of that time and maintain a consistency with it?
Truthfully, my wife and my stepdaughter were the motivators for that. The impact that like losing a parent had on my life was so profound and so drastic, and at the same time seemed so preventable.
Yeah.
That I kind of always had in mind that it is, if I ever have a family of my own, it is going to be my responsibility to be there for them for as long as possible and provide for them as long as I can. My wife's a really healthy person, not like I think out of intention, but she had a really athletic childhood. She was a gymnast. She was a golfer. She's just kind of naturally very talented.
That's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
Gymnast and golfer.
Yeah.
Huh, okay. All right.
So even still, like we started getting into Spartan races at some point.
Nice.
Like our first Spartan race together, I had been working out for a couple of years. She did it cold from years of not working out other than being a server, which is a very like walking intensive job. Yeah. But that was like her only kind of like physical activity 5-6 days a week. And she just ran a 5K, no problem. So she's been always kind of that more athletic person. So I was like, okay, I got to stick around too. If you're going to be around for a while, I got to be around for a while. I got to be around too. So
Yeah.
that was really the motivator.
Dude, that's admirable, man. And like obviously I have 2 kids, right? And it's a step, like you've got someone that, like you said, that is looking up to you, that you're responsible for.
Yeah.
And having that thought process at that point in time to be like, I need to do some things to make sure that I can stick around and be around for as long as possible. And not just like be around, right? Because there's a difference between like just being there and also being able to like actively be able to partake in the upbringing. Right. This, it's a very different thing. So
being able to like to play with your kids, like run around and chase them and stuff.
Absolutely.
And set the right example, right? Because kids are like sponges. They're going to do what they see you do.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you tell them. Because my mom all the time would tell me, don't smoke, don't drink. But I would see her smoking, drinking. Not that she was a big drinker, but it's really hard to like do what I say, not what I do. That doesn't work on anybody.
Oh, I know. Especially at that age too. They're like, wait, like they may not be making it the connection like consciously,
right?
But they're saying like, well, wait a second, but you're doing it, but you're not, like,
right.
What's going
you're
on,
doing it. You're fine. Why can't I do it?
So why can't I do it too, right? So no, that's admirable to kind of start piecing that together and to use that as your motivator too, right? To keep going. Like that's such a big piece. Is like having some sort of motivation. Like, and you talked about like your initial goal was losing weight. Yeah. But it's like if that's your biggest goal, like that's hard to stick with, right? That's fleeting from a motivation perspective.
It really is. It really was too. I think I hit that cap where I did lose all that weight, and I was like, okay, so what was the point of that? I'm not happy. Like, what was I doing?
Yeah. But when you can connect that to, okay, I've lost weight, so now that gives me a better chance to be around for longer, be a more active dad.
Right.
That's powerful.
And that was right around when I started to, I think, like really consider the potential of CrossFit, because I saw how fit all those people were, and I was like, okay, that is clearly like there's something to that.
Yeah.
What is it? What's behind this? Why are people doing this, and why is it working so well?
Yeah.
And that was when I started learning more about CrossFit, and I was still just doing this on my own in a public gym in like the functional fitness center, so I was hurting myself constantly.
So that's a good. It's just if you're planning on doing CrossFit, go to a CrossFit gym. You'll get coaching. You'll get
Yes, get in front of a coach, no matter like how awkward or weird it is, because that was what I always had that fear of going into a gym. Even when I started on my own, it was a very stressful, kind of nerve-wracking. Are people gonna look at me? Are they gonna like laugh at me for doing this wrong? That kind of just insecure feeling.
Yeah.
So I have that even after kind of changing my body. I still had that feeling. So I was kind of like doing it in private in the wee hours of the morning by myself, like just practicing, learning, and fucking hurting myself so much. Like barbell to the chin and the forehead so many times in the first 6 months. But I kept that up for like a year and a half also before
really?
I was like, this is not working anymore. And I think the gym was closing.
Okay.
It was a really small, like family-owned place. And I kind of like hopped around to a couple of other little local spots like that for maybe 2 years in total.
Still doing like CrossFit-ish.
Yeah, CrossFit-ish on my own.
Okay.
And then realizing like this isn't working. Again, like I had a lot of like kind of newbie gains. I started to get more coordinated and feel stronger, and then I plateaued like immediately. And I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Turns out like mostly it was technique, right? Like you have to continue to refine stuff over time. But I didn't realize you couldn't do that without a coach, really.
So then that probably gets you. Does that get you to actually going to a CrossFit gym then for the first time? Okay. All right. So now, like timeline, we're probably like 3-ish years into your kind of fitness journey, so to speak, right?
3 years in, and about 3 years ago, or maybe 2.5 years ago, I started going to Hammer CrossFit. Okay. Which is now closed, but super like welcoming community.
And real quick before you get it, okay, so now 3 years, no smoking anymore?
Yeah, so I quit smoking, let's see, when I was 29. Okay. So this was about 34. I was about 34 years old, I think, at this point.
Okay, gotcha.
Quit smoking. I was about a year or two after that. I had kind of quit drinking. I took like 6 months off drinking. I'm not like sober or anything, but maybe a drink every 2 weeks or something like that. Just back to kind of a normal lifestyle. And I had still kind of maintained the diet. I think I started pushing it back up to like 2,500 calories by that point. But watching my macros, eating pretty much only whole foods. I still have some like protein bar snacks, protein shakes, stuff like that here and there. But it's like chicken and rice every lunch, beef and vegetables every dinner, carbs like fruit in the morning, stuff like that.
Which I'm sure that's probably a tough balance to maintain, considering you are a chef. You're still a chef.
Yeah,
you're like
so
around incredible food.
Like, I have to still taste stuff. So honestly, I end up spitting stuff out a lot now.
Oh, really?
Just like into a garbage can or something, obviously. When I changed the diet, I started meal prepping at home. So I would like cook 1 day a week, package all the meals, throw them in the fridge for myself and for my wife. Yeah. While doing that, we cut out a lot of processed stuff. So like we weren't eating bread anymore, stopped getting pizzas, all that kind of shit. Really just like whole proteins and veggies. And we did that really strictly for about a year. And then tried to go out to eat one day and like I think have a piece of pizza. And my wife and I both almost like died from that. We were so uncomfortable, so much pain, like just stomach discomfort and everything.
Oh my gosh, okay.
So neither of us can eat gluten now, apparently, after having removed it from the diet for so long.
Dang.
And my wife's lactose intolerant to begin with, so we were already like not a lot of dairy in the house. So yeah, meanwhile, I'm like packing lunches, bringing them to work with me, still trying to taste stuff here and there off and on. Yeah. And that was when I finally realized, like, okay, I can taste whatever I want to as long as I spit it back out and don't swallow it. Like, I'll be fine. Yeah. So cooking pasta, I'll taste a piece of pasta and then I go spit it in the garbage. Like,
because ultimately you just need to taste it.
Right. I don't need to swallow it. I don't need the calories, which is really, I think, like the old bodybuilder trick when you're trying to cut weight of just like chew your food and then spit it out. But I was still eating regular meals. So yeah.
Do you feel like that's given you some kind of comfort in being able to maintain your consistency over time? Is implementing that and using that to your advantage?
It's helped keep some sense of control, and I can still do my job to the extent that I need to do it. I can make sure things taste correctly and whatnot. But I feel like it's kind of improved my palate over time too.
Oh, interesting.
Especially like quitting smoking, 100% had the largest impact. But even kind of getting off of the like sodium dense foods, like the like bags of chips and fast food burgers and all that stuff that are just like so high in sodium, it really just kind of messes up your ability to taste stuff, and you don't even realize it. You start to like rely on having high volumes of salt. And that's pretty true of restaurant food to begin with. Like the secret to fine dining is just a shit ton of butter and salt, really. Like we just go nuts to the point that it's so rich and so extravagant, you couldn't possibly eat that for every meal of a day, right? But we only have you for the one meal a week, so we hammer you with it.
You're gonna go to town, yeah, that makes sense.
But as a chef, you can't eat that for every meal of every day. That's how you put on an extra 75 pounds, basically.
Okay. So fast forward back now. So now you're going to Hammer CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right?
So I started going to Hammer CrossFit at the 5:30 class, I think it was.
AM?
5:30 a.m. And I just met like the greatest group of people. It was only a class of like maybe 8 to 10 people on average, but they all went consistently like 5-6 days a week. And they were all of about the same kind of similar fitness levels. They would challenge each other and keep pushing them. Nobody was like blowing each other away. They were all had their own strengths and weaknesses. And they were just super welcoming. They invited me to join their own little Saturday AM class because there was only, I think, like an 8 and a 9, but they still wanted to go early.
Nice.
So like, hey, if you are an earlier to rise, come work out with us.
Heck yeah.
Just super welcoming to their house parties, all that stuff. So I
That's awesome.
immediately got over the fear of being in a community of people because it was just such an awesome community. I was like, what was I ever scared of in the first place?
Yeah, you were thinking that whole time of like, oh my goodness, like that's like people are gonna be looking at
even
me,
the first class, I was so nervous. And I tried to RX. It was like, what is it? Is it Diane or Linda that is like deadlift, bench press?
Oh, that's
and
Linda.
Something else. Yeah, it was Linda.
Yeah. It's like all percentages of your body weight.
Yeah, and I tried to RX it, and I got fucking crushed. I was the last person working. It took me like 18 minutes. Something
it's like 10
stupid.
reps down to 1 of all 3 of
yeah,
those
and it was
something like that,
fucking
right?
terrible.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure this will be fine. I can do this. And I just got absolutely destroyed. But everybody was cheering me on at the end, and they had barely even learned my name, right?
Yeah.
But they were still rooting for me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. No one's laughing. Everybody's just pushing me to keep going. And that was the only reason I kept going, because I wanted to quit like after the set of 8.
Like, this hurts. This stinks.
Yeah.
So is that, was that what kind of melted away any preconceptions, anything you had thought about CrossFit before?
And right after that, the end of class, they had this little huddle up thing where they'll just kind of like congratulate each other and they talk about upcoming plans. They do this little fist bump. And it just felt like such a connection and such a positive environment that I was like, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to scale tomorrow, but I'll be back tomorrow.
It's like, I'll think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What was as you got into it, right? So this is about, you said like 3 years ago?
Yeah, ish, 2.5, 3 years, something like that. Okay. Yeah.
What was do you remember if there was like a moment where, like maybe in those first couple months, where you were like, all right, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, this is my thing, I'm going to stick with it?
I don't know. Honestly, I think it was pretty immediate.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw felt the impact of coaching, like having somebody correct my form, and having it result in an immediate increase in what I'm able to do, like a heavier weight. Maybe it was like front squat or thrusters or something like that. I got feedback in the first week or two, and it was like, elbows up, spread the feet out. And next thing I know, the bar is just floating up off of me. And I was like, oh shit, this is it. Like, yeah, I got to be here all the time.
Yeah. Was there any part of you that thought back to like the 3 years worth of work you did before that, and you were like, what in the world was that?
All the time think about that. I'm very grateful for the journey of my life, but I definitely tell people now to like not do things the hard way. Like, go ask for the help, get feedback. It's okay if you're uncomfortable. It will fade really quickly.
Yeah, and that's such a big help, because then, if you, the better you, or the earlier you can get started on that path of like having the coaching, having the group aspect, right, and like guiding you along the way. Yeah. Like, that just sets you up to be. You think about all the injuries that you mentioned. Obviously we didn't go into detail on them, but you mentioned like, I just was hurting myself left and right. Yeah. Like, those are probably have a less likelihood of happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely preventable if you're in the right position, if you're moving correctly.
That's awesome.
And it really does take that feedback. I think intensity also takes community too, because even now I'll still sometimes do a workout solo. Yeah. And I do not push myself the same way as when there's a group of people working out with you.
Absolutely, 100%. And then I think, if I have this right, do you have your coaching certification?
I do.
Okay, yeah.
So I really started drinking the Kool-Aid like real hard in that first year. It was maybe about 8 months, a year into being at Hammer. I think I was only at Hammer for about a year.
Okay.
Maybe it was 8 months. I don't know. Sometime in the first few months of getting it under my belt, I decided, yeah, I love this. I want to do this. And I had changed jobs. At that time, I was taking a break from being a chef.
Okay.
And I was just doing sales. So
interesting.
my schedule got a little more flexible.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I hated sales. So I was like, I got to find something else to do. This is terrible. And I was like, well, shit, I love CrossFit. I'm going to go learn how to coach.
Yeah.
So I started kind of interning at the gym a little bit and getting some feedback, not just on how to be a better athlete, but how to be like a better coach, how to lead a class. And then went and got my L1 at the same time. I think I just did the online seminar for the L1, and then was just applying that. It was interesting. It was a little weird to do it like feedback through a computer screen at home. I think it's probably sufficient for the L1, right? Because there's not a ton of hands-on coaching work at the L1 level, but there's just a ton of learning the foundational movements and like how to fundamentally approach CrossFit, and learning about the philosophy of functional movements and intensity, and learning about kind of the importance of nutrition at the same time. So like you can do all that stuff through a laptop screen and be fine. The L2 was a different story, and I went for my L2 like another 6 months after that.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Which is only in person.
You really.
Yeah, I was sold on it. I was like, I'm going to become a coach. And I did start coaching Saturday morning classes with that group at Hammer. Okay. And then I transferred that to CrossFit North Scottsdale when we all moved over here. Hammer eventually closed. Yeah. I still keep in touch with the old owner there on occasion, because he just gave me a ton of really useful feedback on how to coach, how to lead a class, and how to think about fitness in general.
Yeah.
So I just kind of kept going with that. I eventually decided to get back into cooking because I did miss the kitchen and that life.
Well, you'd been doing that for so long too, right? Like
yeah, it really becomes
part of your life.
like a part of your identity, for better or worse, right? But it is fun, and I do enjoy it. And I got a really good opportunity, so I work with a bunch of great friends now. I was able to kind of bring in my own team. And,
that's awesome.
So coaching is like kind of on the back burner now, but I still apply that knowledge here like every day just to myself.
Yeah.
I feel it's made it a lot easier for me to receive and incorporate feedback from a coach, because I think I understand the language better now.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's probably easier to interpret what someone's trying to say to actually apply it to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do you feel that or what was the rewarding piece of coaching? Because obviously going from being just a member at the gym, right? You get the reward in that sense. Going from that to being on the other side of it and leading a class, coaching a class, now giving members the cues and that same feedback that you were receiving as a member. Yeah. How did that change? Like what was the most...
seeing feedback work on somebody is really a great feeling, you know, for them and for you. Because it is, I think, a challenge to learn how to communicate to different people. I'm sure you've experienced that, like 100%. Getting somebody to do something the way you want them to, you can't use the same cue for everybody because it doesn't always click.
Personality styles, their skill levels, right? That's all got to get factored in.
And it really is like a kind of a constant puzzle of piecing all of that together to understand where are they at generally, where are they at today, what is the workout asking for, and how do I get them to the closest version of that. I think learning how to scale for different people appropriately and confidently applying it in the right moment at the right time is a really good feeling, because you see that person like succeed at something that they maybe thought they wouldn't. Yeah. And you're like, hell yeah, I knew you could do it. We just had to get you there.
It's that thought of like, I believe in you. Come on, I know you can do it.
So I think like most often now, the only coaching I really do is for my wife, Jessie. Okay. She started coming to the gym 2 or 3 months ago here at CrossFit North Scottsdale. Because I've been like hassling her for years, like, come work out with me, you'll love it.
You finally convinced her. It was a similar path for me and my wife too. Yeah. She'll be on here at some point to tell that story.
Good. I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, I think it does take, like, even for myself, right? It took me years of seeing other people do it before I was like, okay, fine, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. There's that like curve of hesitancy that fades away once you get started. So like she loves it now. She loves coming in here. I think she's still hesitant to be in a full class setting sometimes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
she's like very aware that the intensity ramps up. She did do a full class with me once.
Yeah.
And she pushed so hard to that class. She crushed the workout, but she was dead for like 2 or 3 days afterwards.
But yeah, it is a big difference. To the point you mentioned earlier, right? Of like, you know, being in a class setting and going to do a workout by yourself. It's like it's harder to channel that and to tap into that. Some people can do it. And to those people, hats off to you.
Yeah, it's amazing to see people really like sell their souls on their own. It's like you've got something in there that's really driving you.
100%.
For sure.
100%. So what keeps you coming back now?
I think the feeling throughout the day after the gym. So I think I've always said to people when talking about CrossFit is being in the gym is probably like the best hour of my day. I love the feeling, the just highs of the adrenaline rush, succeeding in stuff you thought you couldn't, and just pushing yourself. Honestly, even if you fail at something, like you learn so much in that 1 hour every day.
Yeah.
That the rest of your life feels so much easier.
Yeah. Give me an example of like where that feels easier for you. Like it could be work, it could be
at work.
At home.
Yeah. Being a chef is a very stressful job. There is anywhere from a dozen to 100 problems that need to be solved in the span of like 12 hours. And no one's life is depending on it, but it very much feels like people's lives are depending on it all the time. You know what I mean?
Everything's an emergency. Everything's like
there's just so little time to fix things sometimes that it's like this has to be done right now.
Yeah.
So the stress is just always really high. But after doing CrossFit for as many years as I have now, all of that stuff seems so much easier to deal with. Like my heart rate never really goes up at work anymore.
Yeah.
You never find me panicking. It's always like, so my motto for myself in the gym is just keep swimming. Like from Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Good old Dory.
So in the middle of like, for me, it comes up when running a lot because I don't like running. I've gotten a lot better at it, but if I'm halfway through running a mile, I want to slow down, and in my head I just start saying, "Just keep swimming," just over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think I bring that to the rest of my life now. Like if things are starting to get tough, I'm just like, "You're gonna get through it." If it takes you 5 minutes or if it takes you 25 minutes,
hell yeah,
it's gonna end at some point. So just keep moving, and it'll be over.
Dude, I love that.
And it's really calming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. It's knowing it's like it will end.
Yeah.
We will get through it. But we got to keep going right now.
Right.
It sucks right now.
Yeah. But the only way out is through, right?
Yeah.
It's like just keep going.
I love it.
Or you get run over by it.
Oh yeah.
So.
I got one more question for you. So I want you to picture in your head a few years from now. Now your stepdaughter's how old now?
She's gonna be 13 this year.
13.
Yeah.
Wow. That's probably weird to kind of crazy to think about. Okay.
7th grade. Yeah.
So she's 13. A couple of years from now, she's getting into sports, and she's like, "Hey, I see you guys doing this CrossFit thing, but it seems, I don't know, it seems a little scary, seems a little intimidating." What are you sitting down to explain to her about CrossFit, and again, right, like knowing what you know about the whole lifestyle change that is CrossFit. It's not just about the workouts; it's about everything that comes with it. So she comes to you, she says, "Hey, I'm thinking about it, but I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of intimidated. What should I do?" What do you say to her?
Just come to the gym. So it's already kind of in my mind. My wife and I have talked about getting her to come with us.
Yeah.
She is such a high energy kid. She loves to run around and jump around, and she's just got such an active imagination that she can keep herself like entertained and busy and happy on her own for hours, and she'll burn through she's like a hummingbird, like just 1,000 calories in a half an hour. Which is just amazing. But I'm always like, I want to direct that energy. Like I think you would have so much fun if you just had like a simple goal to accomplish and then just smashed through it, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't like looked into how to scale for kids necessarily yet, but that is something I want to do and start kind of coming up with some fun workouts for her, because I think if I gave her a lightweight wall ball and just like let her go ham, she would love it.
She'd go to town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She'd have so much fun.
Because she's just that self-motivated, like just keep moving kind of person. And she likes structure that you can hold on to loosely a little bit. So like, there's just enough structure to a CrossFit class of like, this is what we're doing now and this is what we're doing now, but you can change it to fit how you're going to do it, sort of thing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think what I'll ultimately say to her is like, just come check it out.
Yeah. Come check it out. Go with someone.
Yeah.
Go with a friend.
But I'd say that anybody, right, is like, just check it out. Just try it.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So awesome. Nick, my man, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
The voice of the show. You're going to hear Nick's voice in about 30 seconds closing the show. Okay, so what were those 2 audiobooks again? Just that way if people want to hear your voice a little bit more.
Blood and Dirt by Corey Niles, and the recordings by, oh shoot, I'm going to forget his name now.
Uh-oh.
Kyle Zona.
There
The
you go.
recordings by Kyle Zona.
Find them both on Audible, and if you're in the Scottsdale area or Phoenix area or wherever, if you're coming here, Wrigley Mansion. The restaurant is Geordie's.
Yep, that's correct. Geordie's
right?
at the Wrigley Mansion.
And Nick is the executive chef there. That's the title.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, absolutely unbelievable food, my man.
Thank
he
you.
even brought me a little jar of pickles last night. Just as a
I know how
special-
much you love them. Yeah.
So, Nick, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks
All
for having me.
That is 5 down, 10,000 to go.
Hell yeah.
All right. See you, everybody.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with a friend. To get notified of future episodes, please follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you can continue to hear these stories. For more behind-the-scenes content of everyday CrossFitters, follow on YouTube and Instagram at Silverback Media. Until next time, this has been the Silverback Media Podcast.